Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to today's exciting webinar on expanding career pathways to maximize student opportunities. I'm your host, Dr. Adam Fayal. I am the Director of Professional Learning and Leadership for All4Ed, Future Ready Schools, and we have an all-star, let's say all-star studded cast of presenters today. That's really going to talk about some things in the realm of college and career readiness and really ensuring that all of our students have all the opportunities that they need to be successful. Now, I'm not doing this alone. Future Ready's not doing this alone. We are joined by some amazing partners. And one partner I definitely want to make sure we highlight throughout is Microsoft, because this would not be possible without our partners here from Microsoft. And with this webinar, I want to make sure that you understand why we're doing this work before we kind of get into the nuts and bolts of this, because this is a part of a larger process that we're working on with Microsoft around emerging practices. We want to ensure that educators have the right practices in their hands when they're working with our students. And what we're working on is a comprehensive resource for schools and district leaders who are preparing for the future of education. Because we know the world is rapidly changing and rapidly evolving, and it's crucial for educational institutions to adapt and embrace their innovative practices to ensure they have success for all students. Because we all have those all statements in our districts, we want to ensure that all students have what they need when they need it. And our emerging practices guides are designed to provide our just-in-time solutions for the most pressing questions that schools and district leaders face as they plan to personalize instruction and navigate through this landscape. We go into some deeper issues, and we're using evidence-based and emerging practices to showcase the possibilities that innovation can have within your space. So to do this, we're utilizing Future Ready Schools gears, and we're going to align this to our Microsoft framework here. And what we're going to be doing is fostering collaborative leadership throughout this process. So in this workshop that we're doing, this webinar, I have some amazing guests, and we're going to bring them up, and they're going to be able to share some of the things about their district and the amazing work that they're doing. But before I bring in our guest that's going to kind of really run the show, I'm just here to moderate. I'm just here for the eye candy piece. Actually, that's what I'm here for. That's what they pay me for. So I'm here for the eye candy piece. But I'm actually going to bring in our representative from Microsoft. And I didn't just bring anybody from Microsoft, guys. You know, we at Future Ready, you know, we went straight to the top here. You know, we decided to find the VP of Education for Microsoft. Yes, you heard me right. The vice president. We went all the way to the top, the Tippy, and we're going to bring her to the stage right now. They didn't warn you about this webinar, did they? Before.
I'm thrilled to be here. No warning necessary.
So coming to our virtual stage right now, we have Lydia Smyers is going to really talk to us about some of the wonderful things that Microsoft is doing right now in the world of education and really promoting our students and giving them the opportunities and the tools that they need to be successful.
Oh, well, Dr. File, thank you. Thanks for the intro. It's quite an intro. And I just really want to thank the partnership. All4Ed is just an incredibly important partner. And the collaboration with Microsoft is critical because our goals are the same. Mm-hmm. You know, our goals of just assuring we provide guidance and support school districts across the entire U.S. and assuring that there's true digital transformation happening. You know, it's a joint goal so that we can all really support student success. So, you know, just thanks a ton. You know, and a couple of reflections as I was thinking about today's conversation. The purpose that we have here today is to really think about how we can help enrich career pathways for students. Mm-hmm. You know, how can we equip and engage students to assure they've got the skills and the experiences that they need? And this, of course, is, you know, that's inside and outside of the classroom.
Right.
You know, this is all about doing so for jobs that don't even exist yet, jobs that haven't even been invented. And as we all know, you know, the industry is changing super, super fast. And that's why today's conversation is so important. You'll hear Microsoft last week was actually one of our big annual conferences. And last week at what we call Microsoft Build, we made 50 new product announcements, all of them rooted in AI. I mean, it's like mind-boggling because the pace of change here is so fast, and even the pace of change is accelerating. So that velocity is kind of going off the hook. So that's why we're here, because we actually did some primary research. We've got a Work Index 2023 study,
Mhm.
and the number one finding of that, which was released just last month, is that biggest aha is that every employee needs AI aptitude. You know, so
Yep.
if we take several steps back, that means every student needs AI aptitude, and we're here to partner. We're here to support educators, administrators on this journey, this whole new category, because we know, for this is hard work, right? Engaging post pandemic, prioritizing all the state requirements, modern societal requirements, like what our districts are doing is hard, and we're so grateful for the work. So we know in order to achieve success, we need to work across partnerships. We need to team with the ecosystem, partner up with the community to assure that we're really creating that inspiration from shared
Mhm.
learning, like webinars like today, so that we can really meet the needs of these students. So, I'll offer that Microsoft's got three kind of approaches to this. And just number one, um, we always start and stop everything with a commitment and a promise and a reminder of our cultural value of growth mindset. We think that that's an important thing when we think about career connection, because it informs everything we do, but it also informs everything in education. So thinking about new and different ways to expand career pathways for students, new and different approaches, solving for new challenges, all of that is done best with that growth mindset. We have two programs that I'll just offer, just so that everyone's aware. We have Microsoft Learning for Educators. It's a super quick and easy URL, aka.mswac.msle. Hey, it's all of our open source free educational curricula. It's out there. There's learning paths, there's training modules. All of this is tailored for educators to enhance skills and bring technology into the classroom, offer up certifications for their students, etc. And then the second program I'll offer is also free and open source, so just another tool to put into everyone's toolbox, is Microsoft's Career Connected program, and that's aka.mswac Career Connected. There we've got training and resources for career advancements in technology. We've got structured learning paths that really help identify the in-demand technical skills. And there's some professional certification opportunities too. So listen, in closing, I just want to say thank you. Thank you so much. I think about the partnerships that we have with All for Ed, the partnerships that we have with districts. And I think about sometimes that African proverb that says, we must remember, if we want to go fast, we can go alone. But if we want to go far, and truly make a really important impact on our students' lives, then we go together. So
Yes.
collaboration, partnership, shared efforts, this is the key. And so by working together, we are committed to helping to transform all of the experiences that you have in your districts and with your students. So thank you so much. And back to you, Dr. File.
Well, thank you for giving up some of your time today and being here, because as you said, it's all about being stronger together. Working together, it takes a village. We have to have the partnerships, and that's something I'm sure our speakers are going to talk about, is the partnerships that they're able to develop, not only within their schools, with their corporate partners and local partners, and ensuring career pathways. So once again, we're going to be sharing those links out. Everyone who is attending this webinar right now, feel free, if you have any questions throughout, to share those, and we'll make sure we get that information to you. So once again, thank you for taking up some of your time and being with us today.
Thank you.
So now I'm going to bring up to our wonderful stage our amazing panelists that we have. And all of our panelists are giving up some time out of their day to be here. And I have some people who are going to be leaving the country tomorrow that are taking time to be here. So let me go ahead and, the first one I'm bringing to the virtual stage right now. We had a chance to meet virtually, and then after we started emailing each other back and forth, we found out that we actually have virtually crossed paths during our time in Alabama. I'm bringing Dr. Johnson to the stage, coming from Palm Beach County Schools. If you could just kind of share a little bit about who you are, what you do, and your district for us.
All right. Thank you so much, Adam. Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Johnson. I am from Alabama, as Adam has said, but I've lived here in Florida for the last 30 years. I am the director for the Department of Choice and Career Options with the School District of Palm Beach County. We're the 10th largest school district in the nation. And I get the pleasure of working with educators and parents and students on a daily basis around career pathways. So this topic today is kind of like near and dear to my heart. I'm a former high school CTE teacher myself. Actually, I was a typing teacher back in the day, and former high school counselor and now district administrator. And as I said, I get the pleasure and honor of really making sure that we develop career pathways for our students here within the school district of Palm Beach County, pre-K, actually, all the way through 12th grade. And then we also make that connection with our adult education department here, and even make another connection with our state college. So when you talk about career pathways, that's what it's all about. And I'll wait to expound a little bit more on our questions later. But thank you for having me, Adam.
And thank you for sharing with us today. And next coming up, we have all the way from the left coast, spending a little time actually at a conference and taking some time away to be here today. We have Brian Miller coming to our stage.
Morning, Adam.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, good. Thanks for having me.
So tell us a little bit about yourself, your role, and your district that you work in.
Yeah, so I'm the principal of the Kern High School District Regional Occupational Programs, which includes 2 career training centers for our district. We're a very large high school only district in Bakersfield, California. We have 19 comprehensive sites and 5 alternative ed sites with about 43,000 students. And any of those students are eligible to come and take a career training program with us during their junior or senior year. And they're all 3-hour block classes that are part of their school day, either in the morning, the afternoon, or the evening. And all of them are designed to be capstone type courses. So they really, our mission is to prepare them for both entry level employment, but also for post-secondary education as well. So we work very closely with our local colleges to align the pathways and the curriculum and do things like dual enrollment and articulation as well. So a very robust program that's expanded quite a bit in the last 6 years. So happy to be here today to talk about career pathways because it's something that we're very passionate about.
And thank you. We were having a conversation about career pathways not too long ago, and I believe we were saying that it's almost like career pathways should be the norm now. This should be the main track that a lot of our students are on now. The opportunities that we have out there, the way we can really get our students in the process of taking control of their learning. So next we have someone that I had the opportunity to work with for a few years, Dr. Tim Schmidt from Newton County Schools.
All right. Hi, Adam. Thanks for having me. So my name is Tim Schmidt. I'm the director of CTAE and Workforce Innovation in the Newton County School System. So in Georgia, CTE is Career and Technical Education, but we add the A for agriculture. So Career Technical and Agricultural Education. I work primarily with schools grades 6 through 12 in those career and technical ed programs, but I also work at our elementary schools with some STEM initiatives, with K-12 robotics initiatives, and some things of that nature that fit into a related workforce pipeline. We are a district of about 20,000 students. We have 13 or so elementary schools, 5 traditional middle schools, 3 regular high schools, and then we have a high school career academy as well as a K-8 STEAM school in our district. And so I've been here about 9 years, and we put a lot of focus on workforce, a lot of focus on career pathways, a lot of focus on having our students be future ready, really, because careers of today are changing very quickly. And so we heard the word AI a little earlier today, and we're having conversations in our district about artificial intelligence and how we can use it as a teaching tool, but also how to get our kids ready to we stole, we didn't come up with it, but another district in Georgia uses the analogy of students being able to either swim, snorkel, or scuba in the AI world. And so everybody needs to swim because they've got to navigate the waters. Most of us need to snorkel with AI, and then some of us are going to deep dive scuba into the actual coding and becoming, those technical, competent folks that are creating AI and working with it. But that's just another level, a new thing that we're pushing towards. So I'm really excited about careers, but also about the future of what our work world looks like.
Well, thank you for mentioning AI, because we are constitutionally bound now. Anytime we talk, we have to mention AI. It's official. Like anytime you say or talk anything with technology, you have to mention AI now. That's the norm now. We have to mention it. So let's get this party rolling. So we may have some people that are watching or listening that aren't too familiar actually with the term career pathways. We may have some folks who were in school back when I was in school, when we had the old vocational prep, and they talk about wood shop and home economics. That's what, in some people's mind, that's what they think about when they hear career pathways. But that's not where we are today. So if you could kind of just share your thoughts on career pathway programs and a successful career pathway program, and what folks should be looking for there. Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. I pulled up the wrong question there. I did not mean to ask that one just now. There you go. Could you explain this concept of career pathways and why it's so important to have those students ready with these career pathways in our high schools? Dr. Johnson, you start us off?
Oh, absolutely. So I think you just kind of started with the answer. So we're not in the day and age of the traditional vocational programming where, it was kind of expected that, if you weren't going to go to college, get a little bit of training and go to work for the rest of your life in the same career path for the most part. And we just don't live in that day and age now. And so with career pathways, it's not just about getting training, but career pathways also, it brings together educational programming, but it also brings in sometimes support services, especially when you're talking about maybe an adult population. So with adults who might already be working, but they're not making a livable wage, career pathways aims to put together that educational programming to get them the training they need to do better, but also provides the support services, because if you're working or you have children or whatever, you may need someone to take care of your kids, or you may need transportation. So it's really bringing those two worlds together. And as far as secondary schooling, is really about combining training and your academic subjects together and seeing how those two things can integrate and prepare you for whatever it is you aim to do later on, but not sacrificing a very strong, rigorous academic set of courses that you would like to take, whether you're an IB student or you want to take AP courses or dual enroll, but at the same time be able to start some training for something that you have a passion for. So for me, that's what Career Pathways is about. I'll toss it to you, Tim.
Yeah, I often say all education is career education. So hopefully the students at Harvard eventually want to have some sort of a career. And so the idea that Dr. Johnson pointed out that, the days of the folks who can are going to go down this college prep pathway, and those who can't are going down this vocational track is really gone, right? We have students come out of our career pathway programs that are going straight to work in jobs that pay more than most 10th year teachers. But we also have folks that come out and go into technical college, like a 2-year program, or they go off into a 4-year institution, because there's multiple pathways to that success. And so when we talk about career pathways in Newton County, we talk about what are you interested in, what are you good at, and what are the different ways to get there. And so most all of it includes some exploration and some deeper learning, either at the middle school or high school level, where they get some of those technical competencies, they begin to get some of the employability or leadership development skills that we help students grow. But they also get some real on-the-job type training through work-based learning or through job shadowing or some of those things. But we also really talk to them about, hey, if you want to be an engineer, there's a few ways you can get there. One way is the traditional go off to Georgia Tech, get your 4-year degree, go off into the working world. Another way is to go to work for a local company. We have a pretty successful manufacturing facility here close by that takes our students right out of high school, does tuition reimbursement, helps them figure out what they're good at, what they can help the company do, pays for them to go off to school at a Georgia Tech or at one of those institutions while they're working. So it may take them a little bit longer, but they're getting all that experience. And so really career pathways to me can be very individualized. And it's just a way to get from now to that successful career path and learn and grow as you kind of go along that path. And it's not a straight line, I think would be another thing that I'd highlight. It can zigzag, it can go in circles, it could be cyclical. And I think it's so important now because the job market is changing so frequently, because we don't quite know. And so the idea of a continuous path to careers and a continuous path of learning is important to adults, to little small kids, to high school kids, and all through the gamut.
Well, thanks for sharing that. It really reminds me of the Dr. Seuss, all the places you'll go when you have the winding road and all these things. Even with the pathways, as you mentioned, Dr. Johnson earlier, we are kind of not in that phase anymore where you got that one job and you work till you retired and you pulled your pension. I mean, that was kind of the mindset, but the pathways, your career may change once you even have your career, as the job market changes and new jobs are created. Brian, you want to add to that?
Yeah, just to add a couple things, I agree with Dr. Johnson and Tim that career pathways are really for all students. And, I think a quality pathway really gives them some deep exploration into that career path and understanding what are all the jobs, what are the education level that you need for those, what types of training there, and then showing them, we try to direct them to what are their local options to achieve that extra training that they might need after they graduate high school with us. So really when a student leaves the program or completes that pathway with us, we want them to know if this is for them. And a lot of kids change their mind during a career pathway program too and go a different direction, which is just as valuable to learn during that experience as well. And I think the other thing that I would add is, in all of our programs, we do a lot of incorporating on just professional skills that are going to cross over to every single career that they would potentially go in, because when we talk to employers, that's what they want. They want good employees. They want people that know how to be good employees. The technical skills that they get are great, but honestly, if they can just know how to come to work on time every day and the importance of that and the importance of working with others and being good problem solvers, that's the most important thing. So we really try to embed that throughout the entire school year in every single program, and that's really kind of our school culture, especially at the career training centers that we have.
Thanks for sharing that. And when you were talking about this, there's the skill level. You have your soft skills that the students work on, but then we have this space where technology plays such a huge role in what we do nowadays. It was mentioned earlier with AI. So as we start looking at our pathways for our students, and we understand not all of them are technical in nature, but it really seems like every job has some technical aspect. Even your agricultural jobs, you have huge technical components on that. So what role do you see technology playing in enhancing career pathways and also in helping students acquire the skills that they need for the digital age? Brian, you mind starting us off with this one?
Sure. Yeah. So exactly. So technology is found in every career path in some form or another. So one of the things that we really try to do is we do try to stay on that cutting edge front of the new technologies that are coming out, especially in certain industries. When you look at agriculture and the the automation that's going into ag right now. So we've been working with our robotics program and kind of doing some cross collaboration with the ag programs to train students on those types of skills. So we're starting a drone program next year because that's an emerging industry and technology that's being used across the board. So really having to stay on the front of that and be nimble and flexible with your career pathway programs. You can't be stagnant because you got to keep up with technology. And because kids need to know that they have to, we try to incorporate that into our curriculum every year and update that as we kind of see fit. So definitely want them to come out being technologically skilled, depending on which career path they're going to go into.
Dr. Schmidt, care to add to that?
No, I think Brian's right. I mean, as technology changes, careers adapt, the career fields adapt, and our students have got to connect with that higher technology. And then I also think there's some educational technologies that are emerging that are helping us teach a little bit more about career pathways that maybe we didn't have access to before. So, most high school age students can't get into a large piece of heavy equipment like a front end loader or one of those things. But now with pretty realistic trainers that move when you move, and they've got 360-degree views and monitors and things like that, you're getting a chance to put a 16-year-old into a piece of equipment that legally they can't operate in the real world, but then they get out as an 18-year-old and they've got a couple of years experience operating that machine, potentially have some industry credentials that connected to it. And even without the big machine, I mean, VR headsets are becoming a thing now where kids can interact in different ways that they used to couldn't with some of these materials. Either maybe they're in a rural community that doesn't have access to industries and equipment like that, they can do those things. And so I think just from a advancement in educational technologies, we have resources that we used to not have access to, and they're becoming more affordable to provide more access. You talk about students who typically don't get that exposure. The access level is widening, and all those things I think are benefiting in the long run.
Okay. Dr. Johnson?
Yeah, I was just going to say, you guys hit it on the nail on the head. Technology is everywhere. I think in the last month in my work and travels, I have seen technology just in so many different cool areas from looking at how the Army trains their soldiers for different jobs, and using gaming and virtual reality to do things that you wouldn't be able to train out in the field with, to watching students at a high school get tutoring in math using a virtual reality headset. So definitely technology is everywhere. And I liked what Lydia said earlier, that, and I'm going to use this term, we all need to be AI aptitude, or have an AI aptitude, I should say. I say just technology in general, because most of our school systems now have one-to-one device setups where students are not even carrying textbooks anymore. Their textbooks are on a Chromebook. So definitely our students are in this age of technology, and I don't see it going backwards. I just see it increasing even more. Sometimes it's even difficult for us old folks to kind of catch up and stay up, that things change so much. But everything is out there. It's technology. I think about even a car these days. Taking a look at the cars that we grew up with. You pop the hood and you could see all these different things. Now you pop the hood of a car and it's like a battery. It's plastic. It's it's all technology. They can hook it up and tell you in 5 seconds exactly what's wrong. Or if you're driving certain cars, you get an update when you get in the car every morning. So technology is definitely there. And I think as we develop career pathways, regardless of the programmatic area, there is some aspect to technology in everything. we just have to make sure that we're keeping our students abreast, we're keeping our teachers professionally developed so that they can also make sure that our students are learning the technology that they need to be successful.
Yeah, because that's and Dr. Schmidt, you maybe can speak on this a little bit, but because I'm totally going to butcher this, but I know it was one of the ag teachers was received a grant and was doing something around like bee migration or honey production, and it was all this technical stuff that was involved in the whole process. And you're thinking about bees and honey, but it was a programming behind that and trends. So there's so many components that are there that our students have to be aware of, and even partnering and meeting industry individuals using like Microsoft Teams and being able to connect and have those meetings with someone who doesn't work in your school system. It may be an industry partner and they just can't get in that space. Well, they can have that virtual meeting with that student and they can kind of see and experience that space via technology. So really amazing steps that we're taking there. So the next thing I kind of want to ask, now that's the fun, good stuff, but we know that it is challenging. Anytime you start something, create something, even once you get it going, you're going to face challenges in this space. So what challenges do educators and school systems face when they're trying to implement career pathways? What have you seen? What are some ways that they could be addressed, or some words of wisdom that you maybe can share with a school system or a school that's trying to implement career pathways, something to look out for and how they could possibly address that challenge?
I maybe would start with sometimes there's a disconnect with the industry needs in the area and student interest or perception of that career. So, like I said earlier, I mentioned manufacturing. The manufacturing sector is one of the biggest employment sectors in our area, with thousands and thousands of high-end jobs. But when you talk to students about manufacturing or their parents, a lot of times they envision this kind of rote assembly line, push a button over and over all day long, or they think of like dirty smokestacks and hot environments and those things. And so one of the challenges I think you have is just overcoming stereotypes around careers that are either have changed drastically since parents or grandparents were knowledgeable about them, or that are just new. So you talk about drones being an emerging technology, and or artificial intelligence. And so, imagine a student coming home talking to their parents about, hey, I'm going to be a drone operator when I grow up. Like in my head, I'm thinking, I can just imagine my mom would say, okay, well, that's cool to play around with in your free time, but what are you going to do to make money? Not realizing that Georgia Power has drone operators, the fire department has drone operators, the police department has drone operators. Lifeguards are now using drones to patrol waters and drop flotation devices to people because they can't get to them in time. And so just that misconception and overcoming some of the barriers that drive society. Although we're a long time away from vocational education, if you start talking about career and technical education or career pathways, most people automatically go to, oh, well, that's great for those kids. Mm-hmm. And it's so much different now. And so that's probably, I would say, our number one hurdle. So how do you address that? Parent nights, you do industry tours. Our companies are really embracing that idea and selling themselves and what they have to offer and what benefits they offer. You got somewhere that has somebody that's been there for 45 years working in their facility. That's a good place to work.
Right.
So they start telling those stories. And so those are some things we've seen that have provided some fruit as we address that problem. But that would be for me, my number one obstacle.
So you're getting an amen from the congregation out there. You got 100% hand clap right there.
Yeah, I agree 100% with Tim on everything you just said. I think the only other thing I'd add to that is another challenge can be engaging with the employers and connecting them with education. Business works at a different pace than we do in the education world typically, and that can be frustrating for employers sometimes. So we really do a lot of work with trying to bridge that gap and keep them engaged as well, because they are such a critical part of a career pathway, and teach them about how we operate on the education side of things as well. And that is a key, I think, component of building a quality program, because you really need that engagement from the employers.
And I would just kudos to both of you, because you hit the nail again right on the head there. I think too, it's about educating people. And when I say people, it's all stakeholders, right? Even our students, educating our parents so that they do understand that it is not the same vocational as back in the day. That it is an opportunity for students to be college and career ready. We all know that buzzword, right? College and career ready. But when you look at career pathways and you organize them in a sufficient way, you have the opportunity for a student to pick and choose what direction they want to take when they graduate from high school. We have a little tagline here in Palm Beach that we want our students to graduate with a diploma and something else. And so usually that something else is industry credentials. They've had internships. They have opportunities to do job shadowing and all kinds of things to learn about all of the different careers. And like you said, manufacturing is one of those areas when people hear that word, sometimes you have to kind of explain, well, really what does that mean? Because they do think about manufacturing in the traditional sense, right? And then also, I think too, dispelling this myth that, you have to have a college degree. I have a college degree. I think all of you in these squares probably do. But the reality of it is that in many career paths now, you don't necessarily need a 4-year college degree. Certainly having that opportunity to earn that if that's what you choose to do. But there are many, many different opportunities out there for people now to make very good money. And to have what we like to call a family sustaining income without a 4-year degree. And that's the beauty of career pathways too. It provides the opportunity for multiple exit and entry points. So you may get some initial training that gets you in the door. You work for a couple of years, you get some experience, and then maybe you decide to go back to school. And you can continue that path as far as you would like it to go. And so one of the challenges too is making those connections very smooth, so that regardless of where the learner is along their educational pathway, they know where they can kind of jump into the pathway and jump back out, go to work. Okay, now I can go back in, and that is clearly identified and smooth. And so I can tell you personally, that's one of the challenges, making sure you're marketing, making sure you're making those connections between your secondary, your post-secondary, your workforce, and making sure that you have those partnerships solidified, because it's kind of like one big circle. I like to say I'm first at bat. I get to educate them as early as preschool. And then I toss them off to the college perhaps, and in some cases, maybe an employer. And then, if they do go to the college, the state college here, then they take them to the university. So it's kind of like one big family. And sometimes getting people on the same page and seeing how it works for all of the parties, sometimes that can be a little bit of a challenge, but it just takes some communication and some willingness to make sure you're putting a system in place for the people in your community.
Yeah, that's so true. I think when hearing y'all talk about this, it makes me think about how many times when kids have gone to college and they've changed their major, or they just went to college because they were supposed to. It's okay. I've graduated from high school. I had good grades, so I'm supposed to go to college. And then they get there and they just randomly chose a major and didn't know what they were going to do, and they end up changing their major a couple of times. But if they would have had that career pathway opportunity earlier, they would have had chances to change their mind or determine whether or not this is what they actually want to get into full time. And it kind of brings me to the next question I want to ask. When you start talking about the career pathways, and we understand right now there's this skills gap. So there are positions that are out there, well-paying positions that can't be filled. They just don't have the individuals with the skill set to fill these jobs. So how can career pathways be leveraged, especially in your local areas, to really fill this skills gap that we're seeing across the country?
I know for me, I talked about that partnership. So I'm attached at the hip with our local career source, Palm Beach County, our local business development board, our economic council, and our chambers of commerce. And so we work very closely with those organizations to make sure that as an educational system, we are aware of what the needs of the employers are. And so we try to make sure that as we are developing programs or revising programs here in the school system, that we're paying attention to labor market demands, and we are making sure that we are putting in the right types of programs and providing the right level of training to our students to be able to meet those demands of the employer. And then partnering with our local state college and our university system, we often meet to make sure that there's a smooth, articulated process from as far as we can get them in our system so that they can pick up to the next level and degree at the post-secondary level. And so it's all about partnerships. That's one really big component of career pathways. You really can't have successful career pathways without a strong partnership set up with those stakeholders that I just mentioned.
Yeah, I agree 100% with Dr. Johnson. That is exactly what career pathways do, and the benefit of them is they are built to address the skills gap if you're doing it correctly, and it takes all of that engagement with all the stakeholders to figure out what those skills are and what resources you have in what programs you have that exist that might be able to meet some demands without actually starting up a new program in certain areas as well. So it's that engagement with the all the stakeholders in that particular industry.
Yeah, and I think, when you talk about skills gap, we naturally go to sort of a technical skills gap. And I think that's a piece of the puzzle. But Brian mentioned earlier the professional skills that employers are looking for. And some of those are simple: show up to work on time, don't fight with a coworker, some things like that. But also sort of the base prerequisite knowledge for any career nowadays is becoming a bit more advanced. So being a critical thinker and a problem solver and some of the things that maybe an engineer would have been expected to come in and do 20 years ago is now being expected at pretty early levels of the organization. And so the ability to think on your feet, to problem solve. And so I think leveraging career pathways in a way that, one thing that when I decided to become a teacher, there was no way I was going to teach a regular academic subject. And it was because I was able to get kids involved and engaged and thinking outside the box in everything that I did. And so career pathways provide an opportunity for kids to learn the academic content that they're getting across the school in a way that helps them become a problem solver, a critical thinker, applying that knowledge. And so part of the skill gap isn't, I don't know how to weld, although I would say there is a skill gap there. A bigger skill gap when you talk to employers is once that person can weld, the decisions they're making and the things they're doing and how they're interacting with our clients or with our coworkers or with the the bosses of the organization, there's a big gap there. And I think career pathways give students a chance to interact with that in the classroom and also out of the classroom with those industry partners. And that's a tricky situation. Somebody in the chat asked, how do you make sure that those partnerships are positive and nurturing? And I would say we also leverage our relationship with our Economic Development Authority, with the Joint Development Authority, with our Chamber of Commerce, because educators and students often speak different language than industry. And sometimes we both are well-intentioned, but we're aggravating one another because we're speaking two different languages. And so for me, that Economic Development Office really helps us translate what business and industry is asking with what we can provide at the pace we can provide it, and also can have those courageous conversations with the industry folks saying, hey, look, we know you need people to do this job. We just sent you four 18-year-olds, and we know there's a little bit of some, growing up to do with them, but we need you to work with them. My Economic Development Office can have that conversation with the companies and say, you're dying for people. So we're giving you a pretty solid foundational start. You've got to also step up your game and work. So we use that office to help have those conversations, Frank, to help make sure that they understand that they've got some skin in the game too. And I don't have to say it so it's not taken badly. It's our Economic Development Office that's saying it to our companies, and I think that helps us make sure that that's the right mesh of students.
To go back to, I think his name was Frank, I believe. Yes, Frank's question about ensuring the business partners are positive and nurturing. So one of the things that we try to really emphasize is for our schools and our career pathways programs to develop advisory boards. And so even though we have this larger umbrella of partners from, our Career Source and BDB and things of that nature, there's nothing better than having your own core of supportive business partners for your schools, because they get to come into the schools as much as the students may get to go out into the business and industry in terms of internships and job training and shadowing and things of that nature. So that's been a really positive thing for us in terms of building those relationships. And, once you build that relationship and it becomes that partnership, the students know those business partners, the business partners know the students. I mean, students are going to be students every now and then, but for the most part, when you build those strong relationships with the advisory boards, that helps with that, kind of decreasing any issues that might take place and building that positive relationship.
So like the next thing I want to ask y'all, and we mentioned this at the very beginning when we talked about some of the Microsoft resources that we have, and I've added, thank you, Dina, for adding those links, the short links there. So when you have students and even our parents, as I think we mentioned, we talked about the adults in our space, about getting some of these different certifications, these pathways, getting them exposure. What is the role of your space to kind of get folks connected with these opportunities, to show that, hey, you don't necessarily have to go to a 2-year program to get a certification. You can go online, get your career connected through Microsoft and get some tools or skills that may make you more marketable. So like, what things do you do in your space to really make, one, the students aware of it, and even their parents or people in the community aware of these resources that are out there?
So when we develop career pathways, we develop also something called a program of study. And that program of study is kind of an outline, if you will, of the kinds of courses and other extracurricular experiences the students may participate in as a part of being in that career pathways program. So whether it is an internship, it could be students being involved in one of the career student technical organizations like FBLA or HOSA. when we build those programs of study, remember I said we have this catchphrase that we want you to have a diploma in something else. And usually that something else is an industry credential. So as we build the career pathways, we embed, where applicable, industry credentials. So that could be Microsoft certifications, which we've done tons of those in Palm Beach County. It could be any certification that is aligned with the content of that career pathways program of study. And in the state of Florida, it kind of starts from the top down. So in the state of Florida, we literally just finished going through a process where we have aligned specific courses with specific industry credentials. So students can know that if I'm signing up and I'm going to participate in a particular career pathways program of study, that they have the opportunity to earn a particular industry credential.
Yeah, we do the same thing. We have industry certifications built into every program, and we highlight those on their program. Each program has a web page, and that's one of the things that's listed on there. And our teachers really do a good job of looking at that and evaluate that every year and adding to that list or taking away from that list of certifications in their program, so that they are relevant there. On the Microsoft side of things, I know in our computer technologies program, one of the areas they're looking at now is cloud service. And so they're looking at the Microsoft Azure fundamentals course to add into that program so that they can start to learn about the cloud, as well as that's becoming, very relevant technology for them to understand.
Yeah, please tell me when they get that figured out, because then I can start telling my parents how the cloud works, because they still give me a call and asking me about the cloud. Like, I think I put my phone on the cloud. It's like, oh, never mind, never mind. And Tim, one thing I do want you to briefly share, just because I know my wife has actually taken part of the program that you do, is the externship component that you guys have with the getting teachers involved in the process of doing some intern work.
Yep. So we have a program called Connect Newton Educator Externship, and it's really designed to take classroom teachers, media specialists, counselors, put them in an industry experience for a week in the summer. So we just finished that up a couple of weeks ago, maybe last week. And so we're very intentional about that. So it's not a haphazard externship. It's a very intentional externship. They go through different occupational profiles. They spend a good bit of time at the companies. We come back and talk about it. They share what they've learned with the community, but also they create lesson plans and build in ways that this experience is going to change their practice. And I think something that we do that is maybe a little different than other people do that do externships is we involve all grade levels, all subject areas across the board. So we have kindergarten teachers going through career externships. We have, middle school counselors. It's not just our career and technical ed teachers. I actually like it to not be them because it broadens that mouthpiece of who can talk about we start getting our choir a little bigger and a little bigger and a little bigger about who can sing those praises. And after about the second day at the company, they're no longer like the teachers going to that company. They are now Team Takeda or Team SRG. We're a little worried they're going to go leave us and go work for those companies. They get so excited, mostly about the longer lunch period. But it really helps sort of, again, make those connections. And we called it Connect Newton for a reason, because we want those companies to know what we're doing in our schools and how we can brag about what they're doing in their companies. And we also try to pick companies that typically you can't just walk into, right? So we sort of know what goes on in a bank. We sort of know what goes on in a lot of these public-facing institutions. So we try to get into manufacturing facilities or some of those that you don't typically get to go into and help to. So it's a neat thing. The companies love it. The teachers love it. The kids get a lot out of it when the teachers bring those concepts back and build them into their lessons and do little projects with the students that are related to something that's in our backyard. So it's really fun.
Cool. And I think that kind of takes me to this next question I want to ask the group. So, so that's a good example of how teachers can get more aware of that and bring that into their spaces. But we often find in education, sometimes students are excluded unintentionally from certain things that we have out there. So how can we ensure that these career pathways are more inclusive and accessible for students of our diverse backgrounds that we have the privilege to serve in our school districts? And what are some things that, or some tips or pointers or things that you can give out to our listeners today?
I think first, making sure that your school counselors understand career pathways and the programs that you offer, and not assume that they understand the full breadth of what career pathways are, and have intentional professional development with them so that they know, if a student is in a particular pathway, how to properly schedule them, and not at the sake of, if you have these courses, you can't have these courses, but to really build that program of study that allows a student to literally graduate with as many AP courses and other accelerated types of courses as well as their career related courses and experiences. So I would just say, those people who are in front of your students in some type of advisement capacity, whether it be a school counselor at a high school, middle school counselor, because it doesn't hurt to start a lot earlier. For me, I think middle school, even elementary school, to be honest, giving students that basic awareness about different careers, because there's so much opportunity out there that sometimes students will get confused and it becomes overwhelming. And so they really need someone to be able to unpack all of that with them and help guide them along the way in terms of how to select what the right opportunities for them to select along their path. But I would say professional development with those people who are advising students.
Thank you. Brian.
Yeah, I agree with that. Counselors are definitely key. We do a lot of we take a close look at our demographics at our two career training centers and make sure that those are in alignment with our district demographics. And whenever, if there's anything out of whack there, then we're very intentional about doing outreach to those certain groups. I'll give you an example. This year, we've done a lot with our English language learners in the district and bringing them to the career centers, educating about the programs, educating their teachers about the programs, and showing that yes, this is an option for them, even if they're an English language student. And so that kind of that intentional outreach to certain groups, I think, has really been a key thing that we've done, especially as we've expanded the last 6 or 7 years. Been pretty good at that.
And the only thing I would add to that, Adam, is don't underestimate the power of starting early, right? Because we do those things that Brian and Dr. Johnson talked about. But career identity development is a very interesting topic. And if you really study it, you start figuring out that kids don't really know they're doing it, but internally they're creating a sense of identity really about the end of elementary school that is very hard for them to change later on, even if they want to be. So you'll see a lot of women in engineering that end up 6 months on the job and leave. They overcame all the stereotypical obstacles, and they were good at math and science when people didn't think they would be. All that stuff goes out the window. They get an engineering degree, but still internally they're wrestling with this, like, who am I supposed to be? And so whether that's gender oriented or where you're from or what you look like or whatever, it's amazing to get a second or third grader doing those things in STEM or in computer science or in construction or what have you, because they haven't told themselves that they're not supposed to do that yet. And that little seed, when they're in second or third grade planted, turns into later on, they don't care what society is thinking or those messages that society is giving them on accident. We're not doing it on purpose, but all those messages that are coming in are then going through a different filter, a filter of, I can do this, because in third grade we coded a robot, and it didn't matter that, what neighborhood we were from or what our parents did for a living. I can be a computer programmer because I've done it, and I did it when I was 7. So how hard can it be? So that probably is one of the biggest pushes. So when Dr. Johnson talks about pre-K programs, I get excited because I think the more we do that, the more we talk about careers and occupations and jobs, and we just splatter them with experiences for them to feel like that could be them, then all of a sudden the whole world opens up. Because we do a lot of that with juniors, seniors in high school or freshman programs in colleges to help give them a peer that looks like them or talks like them. But again, that brainwashing that happens that we don't even know happens is hard to overcome. And so the earlier you can start with those conversations and those experiences, the better off you're going to be when you start opening up to a more diverse or underrepresented population later.
Thank you for sharing that. So what I'm going been able to glean from this is start early, create those partnerships, and the sky's the limit for our students. So I just want to thank our panelists for being here today. Thank you for giving up your time. Thank you for everyone who was able to attend. If you missed any part of this, it will be posted online. Make sure that you check it out. Once again, thank you this is the first of our 4 series that we're going to be putting out. This one is on expanding career pathways to maximize student opportunities. Once again, thank you for attending, everybody, and enjoy the rest of your day.